And happy Sunday, everyone. This is Jonathan McNamara with JMU Sound Off. We have a jam-packed episode for you tonight. We're going to have a conversation with James Madison University Director of Athletics, Matt Roan, give him an opportunity to reflect on the season that was and look forward to the future of this program. We're also going to have a conversation with the #1 club golf team in the country, JMU Club Golf. Love giving them an opportunity to talk about their program and how they're making their mark on the national stage. And then we're going to also take a deep dive into everything that has happened in the portal as Billy Napier and company revamp the 2026 JMU football roster. Then we're going to talk news and notes, take a look at JMU men's basketball as well as the women, and do a look around JMU Athletics as we look into the new semester. But with that, we want to thank our sponsors right off the top, Skyline Financial Partners. Remember that you can empower your family for lasting financial success at SkylineFinancialPartners.com. Champions Drive Bourbon. Remember that every bottle of Champions Drive that is purchased helps JMU in their pursuit of championships. Find a bottle near you at abc.virginia.gov. Where's Woody? You can get 25% off the entire Where's Woody shop at where'swoody.com by entering promo code SOUNDOFF25 for 48 hours after every broadcast. Our friends from Purple Nation, now with stores in Northern Virginia, Midlothian, the West End of Richmond, and the coast, and you can shop online anytime at yourpurplenation.com. The Dead Meat Society, you can join the movement for grilling enthusiasts at deadmeatsociety.com. Shoker and Associates, they impact personal and civic institutional productivity for success. And then our friends from Outdoor Kitchen Creations, take your outdoor kitchen to the next level at backyardtrends.com. And finally, Valley Road Vineyards. The next time you are on I-64 between Harrisonburg and Richmond, stop by, tell them you heard about the winery from JMU Sound Off, and you'll get 50% off your wine flight. So as always, thank you to our sponsors. And with that, we're going to bring in Matt Roan to the discussion. Matt, I hope you were doing well. I know you've gotten a little bit of rest and relaxation over the break, but now you're back into the thick of things and back at work with Billy Napier and co, reshaping this roster, and I know so much more with JMU Athletics. So thanks for taking part of your Sunday to talk with us. Matt, I wanted to start because we haven't had a chance to talk to you since the college football playoff run, and just give you an opportunity to reflect on the season that was. And I know there's so many different ways that you can go about that, but we started off the year previewing the season with you and talking about the drive to sell out every game at Bridgeford Stadium and to continue to find ways to amplify this program on the national stage. Boy, oh boy, did we do that and so much more. Just your initial reflections on the magical year that was.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of success and a lot of first, right? To sell out 6 for 6 home games. Having Washington State come in here, to host our first ever Sun Belt championship, to win our first ever Sun Belt championship, obviously the first ever CFP. But when you really think about it, and I tell our student athletes all the time, right? You all the time don't remember the certain scores or, plays and games, but you remember the trips, right? You remember the relationships, you remember the people. And I think back to those moments in the Washington State game in the fourth quarter where they were very tense. And obviously we turned them over on downs there at the end of the game. And just to see the place erupt, right? The relief, the exuberance that existed there to see and to be in the room the day that, our logo, our name goes up on that 12 seed line to announce that we're in the college football playoff. And you see that raw emotion. You see, again, grown men weeping, but you see streamers flying. It's those moments that will stick with me forever. And I love, again, you've heard me say I love what I do because of how it makes other people feel. And to know what it meant to our fans, to our alums, to people who support us, to our players, to our coaches. That's why I love what I do, right? It's the intersection of sport and relationships and people. And there's a lot of really special memories that I'll think back to the 25 season with.
As one of the grown men that was weeping and standing on couches and making my family think I'm a little crazy, I do have to ask you, because Mallory shared a great video from when they saw that we were in the college football playoff. Can you just take me inside what that 36 hours was like between the final whistle inside Bridgeford Stadium, then to have to sit through the Duke UVA game, and then you think you have a pretty good shot, but nothing's guaranteed. I can only imagine, knowing personally how passionate you are about this, but also what was at stake. Just take us inside. Probably not a lot of sleep.
No, it was actually a really good weekend though, because I mean, obviously you go from celebrating and with a I don't remember now, right? Was it a 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock kick? I think it was a 7 o'clock kick. By the time the trophy presentation happened, by the time you really close the book on the championship. Responding to messages. It was 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, right? So you get up on Saturday. I remember very vividly. Billy and I are talking about, hey, I think I have my offensive coordinator. I think I have my defensive coordinator. So we're at the same time you're turning the page a little bit to 26, knowing what was going to unfold the rest of that day. But you probably heard this before. I had the best distraction because later that evening, my youngest daughter was playing in Elf the musical at her middle
Oh,
school,
wow.
and she was the lead in that. And so that curtain dropped at the same time the ACC championship was kicking off that evening. And so I like to think that I was tuned in to what she was doing, but admittedly, I had the phone sitting beside me. When you see,
Yep.
Duke go down and score first, go in at halftime, and by the time it was halftime, I was home, and it was interesting. My kids, they understand what I do, right? They love it. It's part of who they are as well. But uh, they were locked in on an ACC championship game, really the last 5, 6 minutes in that game. And then to have that crescendo all of a sudden just kind of drop, right? When he makes that catch right before the end of regulation and then overtime being what it was, you knew what that meant, right? You knew that because of the week prior, we had entered the rankings. I immediately called Bob and, we're screaming and yelling at one another like this just happened, right? I then call our commissioner and say, hey, do not let them mess with us, right? You just knew what that was going to mean. And so you get up on Sunday and there's just a lot of excitement. There's a little bit of doubt, right? There's 1% of doubt of anything can happen, but just a phenomenal weekend.
Yeah, and I can see from my perspective there was a lot of more than 1% doubt. Maybe that's being a Jets fan, Islanders fan. I'm used to the disappointment, but pretty special. Before I get to potentially any impacts of that, I did want to give you a chance because I think it is important to give some praise to Bob Chesney and that staff for the way they handled that transition. I think there's many different ways that you can go about it, but the way that they kept their focus on this program
Yep.
and helped us to put such a good product on display for the country. Just any thoughts that you'd like to share? Because I know you were very close to Coach Jesse and this team, and I have no doubt are very grateful for their contributions to the program.
Yeah, I am. Just like so many of our fans, I'm thankful. I'm grateful. Just tremendous positive feelings for how they were able to compartmentalize. And there's some sacrifice involved there, right? I mean, you sacrifice the opportunity to get ahead and to work ahead at your next place. But I keep going back to, and I think I use this phrase a lot, right? We can be the adults in the room. We can model the way. When you saw what was happening at other places. And I think we were able to do that because we said the 2025 team was the most important thing, right? You can't worry about 26 here, you can't really worry about 26 somewhere else. It was all about, how do we give the 25 team the best chance to play as long and to go as far as they possibly can, and we did that. But where my gratitude comes in is twofold, right? It's the piece focusing on the 25 team, but not for the transparency and not for the honest, candid conversations that Bob and I were able to have from really late September on. We're not able to execute the way that we did, which was, hey, it kind of came out on a Monday that Bob was leaving. By Thursday, we were done because we were able to have those preliminary conversations and to work with the search firm and to have those Zooms and, kind of really build out those traits and characteristics that we were looking for to make sure the program continue to project and propel forward. And so I'm grateful, one, that there was the focus there, but I'm also grateful for the relationship that we have, that we could be very honest with one another about, what was going on now, but obviously what was next for both of us as well.
Yeah, awesome times. And again, they handled themselves with grace and class from day one with this program, and it was not surprising to see them do that through the transition. I know we will not know the full impact of this college football playoff run for many years to come. But are you getting any sense, in the short term at least, what this is doing for the program? Maybe it's in the ability of this new staff to recruit a particular type of athlete, whether it's fundraising numbers, things like that.
Yep.
Any early indications for what you're seeing?
I'm very curious. We know that from that Sunday, Selection Sunday, really through Oregon, our servers were really operating at a crawl, as it was described to me. And so you knew that there were people that were interested in JMU and learning about JMU. And so Is that prospective students? We'll find out in time, right? Are those alums? We'll find out in time exactly what those alumni participation, giving, what all those metrics will end up becoming. But I think what we've seen is when you're in the CFP, there's a handful of schools, right, that can say that among the G5, G6. And so you're talking Tulane, you're talking Boise. I think it's just put us in a stratosphere as we recruit. Um, you can recruit to that, right? It's,
Yeah.
hey, you're coming to a program where now the standard, Michael says it all the time, the standard is the standard, but the standard continues to increase, right? The standard continues to magnify and become, even more aggressive and even more bold. And you heard it when Billy was introduced. It's not enough to get there one time. It's how do we get back a second, a third, a fourth? You feel like LeBron James kind of saying that sometimes, but great players want to be a part of that, right? Great players. Certainly, we have to position ourselves with resources to make sure that we're attracting the best players. But the best players want to be a part of winning programs. They want to play on the biggest stage. And I still think one of the differentiators for us is they want to play in front of sold out stadiums, right?
Yep.
They want to play in front of passionate fan bases. And that's, when I talk about the success without labels, we are unique in that way, right? There's places that maybe call themselves P4. They don't have what we have, and our players see through that. And I think that's why you're seeing the returns that we have, that hopefully we've recruited, and time will tell, as good as we've had, if not better, to continue the upward trajectory of the program.
Well, you talk about recruiting and the upward trajectory. Now you do have a new staff in place. Billy Napier on the ground now for a number of weeks. He's filled out his staff, and they are heavily underway. Over 30 players now in the portal. Just your early read on what it's been like to work with him, and also the type of people he has brought in to lead this program into the future.
Yeah, I first and foremost, I would say Billy Napier fits JMU, right? In terms of our values, his personality matches our institutions and our fans. I think in time, as he gets out and he's not consumed with trying to rebuild a roster, our fans are going to see that. They're going to see somebody who is decent at his core, right? Who's authentic. Again, I go back to the things that this institution stands for. He stands for personally. Um, he's attracted, in my opinion, a phenomenal coaching staff. And, we've held on kind of publicly announcing some of those, but, who those people are through reports in the media. But we have an elite play caller and an offensive staff. We have an elite defensive play caller, a former teammate of mine that I've known about for a long time and have seen him and watched him grow in the profession, and who has worked for Billy. But I think he's built a great staff. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I've been most impressed with, I don't pretend to recruit the players, but it's been fun for me to watch kind of how that machine works, right? And people think about the visit itself and what that on-campus experience is. I've been blown away with the evaluation. What I would talk to Bob about, and then obviously I think what was transferred over to Billy was this building out of our personnel area. And you see really the number of people that we were able to add there, and to reallocate some resources to be able to do that, how quickly, how efficiently, how thoroughly he can evaluate players and find out from people about their character, what are they about. So seeing that live in action is something I had heard he does really well, and I've gotten to witness it firsthand. And I think in an era where we're in right now, where there's just one portal window, you can't miss, right? I mean, what you're doing in a 3-week time period is what you have to roll with for the next 12 months. And I'm excited to see that on display this spring and watch it develop, and then get to the fall.
I know you're somebody who likes to make sure you're giving the right kudos and attention to the people that deserve it. So obviously, Billy Napier, his staff have been incredibly busy putting this roster together. But there's a lot of other people who've been really heavily involved in this. Whether it's the video staff, it's the photographers who are taking all those great shots that people put on their recruiting pages. It's also the general manager, people like Steven Laporta. Can you take us a little bit behind the scenes, just of what that coordination has looked like? Again, at just an incredibly busy time of year with a lot of transition. There's a lot of people rowing in the same direction, and that's no small feat considering what we had to do in terms of the number of players we're bringing in.
Yeah, and look, communication, I think, in any successful organization is key, and we've probably not communicated as well as we want to over the last 3 weeks, because they're asking the same people 3 and 4 times for one bit of information, because you
Yeah.
want to try to get it from whomever you can get it from as fast as you possibly can. But I'll brag on our staff, because winning and excellence is the most important thing. And 2 weeks the university shuts down for the holidays. It really didn't shut down for our staff, right? We
Yep.
get back from Eugene and it's turning over, right? You're moving a staff out of offices, you're moving another staff in. So facilities, Ty Phillips and his team are a big piece of that. You're evaluating transcripts. You're doing the on-campus visits, right? You're meeting with folks on campus. You're asking for buildings that otherwise would be locked to be open. You're working with agents, right? You're making financial aid decisions. And so you're right, Cliff, Stephen, Jen Phillips, um, Steve. I think of Melissa Wyatt and her
Yeah.
team. There's just so many people. Marissa Manko, right? I mean, every question is a financial question as you're
Yep.
learning and you're getting up to speed. And Denise Lowe, in terms of the onboarding and offboarding of the previous staff, there's so many people that went into it, and so they sacrificed a lot. And we'll become a more efficient organization as I think this new staff gets to know ours. But right now, it's just this pursuit of excellence and knowing that we're all in this thing together.
Yeah, and again, none of that happens accidentally. This is a very deliberate effort, and it's also a product of a culture where people are very passionate about the end outcome and what they're doing. Couple last questions for you. There was a schedule announcement this week that I wanted to give you an opportunity to touch on in any way that you see fit. But obviously, Virginia Tech being moved off of our schedule this year, and then getting a game out west. So if fans didn't see that announcement, tell us a little bit about how that came to be. But I know there's a lot of layers to all of this, and scheduling is not a challenge that's getting any easier,
No,
especially
it's
with our
not.
success. And I know there's a lot of people that work at this, but there's a lot of implications as well for what comes next with the schedule.
Yeah. So, when the ACC went to 9 games, you start to
Not
think
ideal.
to yourself, this is not good, right? And I'll give Whit Babcock, my counterpart at Virginia Tech, a noted alum here, a ton of credit in pretty timely fashion, right? He started communicating with me, and for various reasons, we had an indication that we were going to be the odd team out. And a month or so ago, before obviously this week's announcement came out, you start working the phones and being able to stay silent on the impact or what ultimately was a cancellation between us and Virginia Tech. You don't feel like you're without any leverage, right? You're just having some conversations with people to say, hey, we might have a change in our schedule. We'd love to come. And I will tell you, I've reached out to, because the ACC and the SEC both went to 9 games, they were all in the business of dropping, right? So there were no opportunities to add there. And so you really look at the Big Ten, you really look at the Big 12, and I will tell you, I would have to count them on both hands, the number of places that I reached out to and begged. And Mallory's standing right over here beside me behind the screen right now. She was in the car with me one night when I am saying, hey, please bring us out and let us play that game. Um, and the response sometimes is, hey, logistically, it's just a challenge for us. We'd rather do it in another week. Sometimes it is, hey, I cannot convince my head
Yeah.
coach to do that, and I respect that. But in the end, again, you've heard me mention this name before. We work with a guy by the name of Dave Brown. Dave is a former ESPN executive. He owns a company now called Gridiron. Everybody in the country works with Dave to try to broker games, and it got to the point where San Diego State became our best option, and I kind of asked Dave, I said, hey, is anything else going to come along? And he said, Matt, the threat now is if it's not San Diego State, you might be hosting a second FCS at home. And to me,
Wow.
that was the deal
Yeah.
breaker. And so we moved forward with San Diego State. I'm incredibly thankful to Bob Moosberger there, JD Wicker, for agreeing to play us. I've had some people ask me about why a guarantee and not a home and home. The first availability we would have for the back end of that home and home would not be until the 2036 season. And there's just a lot of time, in my opinion, in that window that, our scheduling model could change, right? CFP formats could change that dictate why we change that model. And so to lose a guarantee game it made most sense just to do a one-off guarantee game. I'm grateful that Whit and I are going to continue our conversations to look at, putting that game in the early 30s to see what that looks like. And I will tell you, John, I've had a few people come up to me and say, hey, it would be helpful if you would name, those places that don't want to play us. I will tell you, if I ever want to have a chance to play those schools in the
Yeah,
future,
that's
it
not.
is not helpful for me to
Yeah,
really put people on blast, right? You want to protect those relationships, protect those conversations. But I hope our fans know that, we tried to build the best schedule that we possibly can. I'm actually proud of the schedule, right? When you get,
yeah,
again, Liberty coming up here, going to UConn with Jason Candle in his first year to go to San Diego State. I was talking to another elite, in my opinion, G6 counterpart, uh, the school that he's at yesterday. And, I think you might see more of the top programs playing the top programs, right? The San Diego States, the Memphises, the South Floridas, the North Texas, the Tulanes, the Toledos, the Boise's. Like, we're going to have to stick together to play each other.
yeah. I'm glad you mentioned stick together because that the last couple of questions I want to ask you were about um, your perspective on at least my. I won't put words in your mouth, but my perspective. It did feel as if there was a little bit of a coordinated campaign in some circles of the media. We don't need to name names, but to attack the concept of the group of five teams like JMU even having a seat at the table in the college football playoff. And what I have noticed over the last couple of weeks is more group of five ADs finding their voice and really advocating and fighting for the very existence of their programs in the college football playoff, but also encouraging fans to do as much and say what this means to them. Any just reflections of your perspective of you see that growing and how you viewed that debate that really kind of sucked a lot of oxygen out of the room during our run to the college football playoff.
Yeah, I will tell you, Jeremiah Dickey at Boise is a
Yeah,
good friend. Jeremiah is not shy, right? He'll be very vocal. Jeremiah was also one of the first people as we made the field and as we're getting ready to kick off in Eugene. He's texting saying, "Hey, go beat these guys." And so you appreciate the relationships, you appreciate the friendships. I think again, when I think about 25, the people that reach out, that congratulate you on that success, and he's certainly one of those people. Yeah, I mean, there was a narrative out there. The disappointing part for me is that narrative failed to just mention that JMU got in because the rules allowed us to get
yeah,
in.
yeah,
There was no JMU got in, and so therefore Notre Dame was out. Notre Dame was out because of Alabama and Miami. Uh, Duke was out because of JMU, right? We were one of the five highest ranked conference champions, and we absolutely deserved to be in that field. And I think anybody who, works in this day to day knows that, from commissioners to ads to head football coaches, right? They understand that, they can appreciate that, and they might not like it, but I think they can respect that we got in because we play by the rules as they exist today. Now, could those rules continue to evolve? Perhaps, right? You've heard of this memo that's out there that guarantees the A4, their spots, their conference champions, and then obviously there would be one that was available to the G5 if you're not in that at-large conversation. That's just with a 12-team playoff, right? What does 16 look like? What does 24 look like? I've seen a scenario of 28. I do think college football is going to continue to evolve. Um, I do think that there will be a place, there is going to be access for JMU, the Sun Belt Conference, the entire G6, right? There will be hopefully more as the playoff continues to grow. And so I think what you saw was a 2 week rush of kind of information and people, talking heads talking about that topic. Once Oregon went to Miami and beat Texas Tech the way that they did, it was amazing how that really disappeared, in my opinion.
yeah,
And I think you saw in time that JMU did deserve to be there. JMU did represent itself well, its entire subdivision and its conference well. So, again, I think there's a time and a place for us to have that conversation. I've been vocal with, our league leadership, with my colleagues around the country, that my job is to always fight for what's best for our institution, and we'll do that. But right now, I think that that kind of negativity has died down in a lot of ways, and I think we're pressing forward, knowing that we have access now and into the future.
And then my final question, I'll just give you an opportunity to your message for the fans is, what's the next couple of months look like for you? I know there's so much happening in college athletics on a national stage, but there's also a lot happening on campus. You've got
Yep.
a president who has been very vocal and open about what the future could possibly look like for our stadium complex, for
Yep.
fan engagement. This has to be a busy time, and whatever your answer is to that question, I know that there's a way that fans can help. Season ticket renewals are going to start to be a thing that we're going to talk about. Financial contributions, etc. Here's your softball toss for how can fans help you do your job and help any plans, whatever they are, come to fruition in the future.
Yeah, and you asking that question, I haven't probably looked out as far as maybe I need to, but again, I know we have our winter meetings coming up with the Sun Belt here at the end of this month. We have Sun Belt Championships down in Pensacola where we'll all get together and have some good conversations. But board meetings in February and April, that will be big. Obviously, inaugurating a president will be big, sandwiched in between those two dates. But yeah, I mean, we've got winter sports, right? And you've got championships to try and win there. You've got spring sports. You've got championships to try and win. We talk about alignment. We talk about vision. Um, Now is not the time to rest. Now is the time to press forward and to press forward as hard and fast as we possibly can. And again, the goal is to get back to the CFP. The goal is to dominate fall, winter, spring, right? To win as many championships as we possibly can, to position as many of our 18 programs as we possibly can for NCAA postseason success or CFP success. And that requires, again, the alignment, which we have. That requires a bold vision, which we have. But it's going to require all of us contributing whatever we can to make that possible. And I think we have, not that we ever were really against it, but I think when you're talking about student athlete enhancement, when you're talking about rev share, when you're talking about the world in which we live right now, I hope, I think that we're all saying, hey, we might not always agree with it, but we understand that we have to embrace it in order to allow the program that we love, the department, the institution, this community to continue to thrive. Sports are important to JMU. And if we're going to have them, let's make sure that we're successful in them because that's what the most positive impact that we can make would be.
Awesome. Well, jmudclub.com. Whatever way you can engage on that website is going to help your efforts. But Matt, thank you. I know this has been an incredible year for you. A lot of work went into this, and a lot of people that we could probably spend another hour naming the names, facility staff, everyone that made this possible. And I know the year is far from over. We've got a lot of basketball left to play, and then our great spring sports are also going to represent us on the national stage proudly. So thank you for your access. Thank you for everything you did. Thank you to Mallory. I'm sure she's already planning 2026's fall outfits. We still got to get her an NIL deal. That would help you out if there's some clothing companies out there that want to sponsor Mal.
It would really help me. My kids and I would thank you for doing that.
We can connect the two. But thanks again, as always, Matt, and good luck to you and your staff in the new semester and everything that comes next.
I appreciate you guys and for continuing to help us tell our story.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Great discussion all around. And we're going to shift gears to another great program at JMU that is representing the brand of James Madison University on a national level. And that is the JMU Club Golf team. We've got Aaron and Zach from JMU Club Golf here on the podcast. Gentlemen, thanks for taking some of your Sunday. You are the #1 club golf team in the country. I'm going to say that again. #1. There's only number one, and that's pretty special stuff. I'm going to go to you first, Aaron. Just tell people who are not familiar with club sports at JMU. We've had a lot of club sports success at JMU. A little bit about your program and how you are getting to this place of having so much success. And I know you're looking towards your spring season and what that could mean for the club.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having us. So I'm the president of the club golf team here at JMU. This semester, we had 125 members, so it's pretty awesome to see. It's the largest we've ever had the club. And the way kind of our tournaments work is we have typically 2 to 3 every semester. And from there, we pick like our top 8 to send as our A team. And then the next 8 go as our B team. But a lot of what we do as a club isn't just related to tournaments. Like we host inter-club events as well. So that's just all internal events that happen just with people in the club. And the thing about golf that makes it pretty unique compared to some other sports is the ability to practice across all skill ranges. Like I'm sure like you had like JMU ice hockey on here. It can be a little bit of a challenge for maybe you have someone newer to the sport. It's harder for them to practice with someone that's, let's say, been playing for years. But that's kind of the thing that's unique about club golf. Like at any time, you could have people at such a wide range of skills that go out there and play together on any day. And I think that that's one of the things that kind of brings our club together so much.
So Zach, take us inside the club. You have a large number of guys, as you mentioned, multiple skill levels, but you're competing at a really high level against some of the other big club programs across the country. Take us inside to some of those tournaments and some of the schools you're playing, and what is a tournament weekend like when JMU Golf hits the road?
Yeah, so the JMU tournaments, we play, like Aaron said, 2 to 3 a semester. And there's 2 days of stroke play, 8 guys to a team, and then the top 5 scores count per day. And the A team that I'm on, we have a very good group of players, and we're all really, really tight, really, really good friends. So after like our first round, we'll go out to eat, we'll hang out, we'll watch sports. I mean, we basically do everything together that weekend. And it's also good that we're pretty good at golf. So it's fun to have some friendly challenges between the team to see you're always playing against them. But then the other teams that are in the top 5 are actually on the West Coast, so we don't actually get to play them until nationals. But those teams are like Grand Canyon, Arizona State. Those are the other 2 teams that are gunning for us. And then UVA and Virginia Tech are the other 2 good teams that we play every weekend. So it's been fun. It's been fun.
Aaron, I want to ask you, I have a friend who hosts a golf podcast called GSD Golf, and he's shined a light on club golf and its growth over the last couple of years. And you're seeing some elite golfers go into the club ranks, and that may not be something that the average person knows, as there's so much of a focus on Division 1, 2, and 3, but there's real talent at the club golf level. Have you seen a growth in this area, and maybe kind of speak to the depth of the talent that is playing at that level, and allows you to have some pretty steep competition and a great showcase for the sport?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the appeals like of club sports in general is that like for most people that go to play at the collegiate level, they don't necessarily get the chance to play any later than that. And so for a lot of us that love the sport we play and still want to compete at the highest level, this is a good kind of mix between still being able to play the sport that we love and still being able to compete against high level talent, while also not having to worry about somewhat of a strenuous like travel plan or have to worry about like workout schedules 5 days a week. Like it's a lot more on your own time. Like you can kind of decide how much you want to practice. Like we don't necessarily have set practice times. Like we kind of go out there and all do it kind of on our own. And so it's nice. So if you're having a busy semester, you can practice a little bit less. If you're having an easier semester, you can do it a little bit more. The appeal, I think, to club sports that people are starting to realize is that you can still go to the schools you want, and you can kind of control a lot of the things that you can't necessarily control at like the D2 or D3 level.
Yeah. Zach, I want to ask you, one thing I've always heard from any of the club sports is yes, what you do on the field and the court and whatever matters and is really important, is obviously an essential element to the club experience, but it's also a ton of fun. And you've got basically this giant fraternity of guys who are all, have a common interest, but are going to be some of your brothers and friends for life. Just take us maybe off the course and what that dynamic is like as you grow as a club and have so many new friends as a part of the experience.
Yeah, so when I got here freshman year, I didn't really know a lot of people on the club golf team, and I think it's our class, Aaron, we got Landon, them two have really, the vice president's Landon, them two have really kind of expanded the club into being more than just like a golf team. Off the course stuff, we have, I mean, I hang out with everyone almost every single day. We go out to eat, go downtown, have a good time, and then we also have kind of like parties and mixers with other and organizations that are also a pretty good time. And one of the best things I think we do is one of the inter club tournaments every year is like a draft. So you get like top 16 guys, and they draft people from the rest of the club, and we all meet up at a house and like host a very formal draft. Not very formal,
Yeah.
but and it's a good way to, like, for me as a senior and for Aaron as a senior, that we're drafting a lot of underclassmen who don't really have, or we're in my shoes freshman year of not really knowing a lot of people on the club. And it's a really good way for them to meet new people and for us to really shine light on what the club can really be, if they come to a bunch more stuff. It's I really enjoy it. It's been a great time.
That's awesome. Aaron, I want to give you a chance. I know there are some ways that fans of this program and fans of JMU and maybe fans of the game of golf can help your club grow. Can you talk a little bit about that? Do you guys have any merch? Do you have any items that if somebody's looking at this, that they want to get their hands on or help your club grow? What's the best way that they can do that?
Absolutely. So in the next coming weeks, we're going to be launching a fundraiser to help us go to New Mexico. So one of the challenges that we kind of have as a club team, that a lot of these other club teams that we play against are pretty well funded. Like, I know Grand Canyon, they kind of operate their club team as like a feeder team to their D1 team. So they have some coaches, they have all their travel paid for. And for us, we work with pretty much all our funds in-house. Like, we collect dues. And like I said, when you have 125 people in the club, there's a whole lot of stuff that we need to do outside of tournaments to ensure that people are kind of getting their money's worth. But so this semester, the goal is to raise $10,000 through our fundraiser challenge. We're going to have a couple fun challenges on there that once we reach certain levels, we'll be going out onto the course and maybe doing some all sports golf battles and some other fun golf related stuff like that. And then as well, in the spring, it'll be on April 18th to the 19th. We're going to be hosting a JMU Club Golf Open. So it's going to be available to any golfers in Harrisonburg, as well as we have a bunch of teams traveling from Virginia and outside of Virginia. And we're going to have $1,000 cash prize for the individual winner. We're currently talking with some sponsors, seeing if we can raise the prize pool a little bit more as well. But that's another way that we're looking to raise a little bit of money before we head to New Mexico.
Awesome stuff. Zach or Aaron, whoever wants to take it, how can people find out about the club? Tell us about your social channels, and if they want to engage or come out and see you guys play, what's the best way to reach you guys?
All right, so I'll take that one. I'm actually the social media chair for the club. So I run with two other guys. We run the Instagram. That is the best way to reach us, to see what we're up to get updates on our tournament schedules, what we're doing from a day-to-day basis. And it's at JMU Club Golf on Instagram. Hit us up with any questions you have. We also have a Facebook at the same tag at JMU Club Golf, but the Instagram is for sure the best way to reach us for anything that you guys want to know about club golf.
Awesome. Aaron, final thoughts just on the club experience and what comes next. I know you guys are gearing up for a big semester. Kind of your final message to the JMU fan base.
Honestly, it's just been an unbelievable experience. I mean, kind of wrapping up my time here at JMU, I'll be honest, when I first joined the club team, it was 60 something guys and we had never been to nationals. And now we're sitting here in my last semester. We're the #1 team in the country. We actually have 10 individual players ranked inside of the top 250, wow, including Mr. Wilson sitting there himself. He's number 15 in the country. We got 4 players in the top 50. And honestly, it's pretty special. So I'm excited to see what this semester has in store from us.
That's awesome. Well, I got a chance to see Neil Shipley when we were out in Oregon. I mentioned we were going to be talking to you guys, and he said he follows you. So there's some notoriety in the pro ranks looking at what you guys are doing as well from a JMU golf perspective. But guys, again, thank you for being just great ambassadors for JMU as a university. It's incredibly impressive what you're doing. I think the club stuff is so cool, again, because you get to chart your own course, and that everything school mantra that makes JMU so special. You're just another feather in our cap for great things that are happening at the university. And I say, you say your time is wrapping up at JMU. As you'll see from all of us old guys doing a podcast, it never really truly wraps up, especially if you stay engaged. So we look forward to seeing what you guys do in this semester and in the future. We know we'll see great things all to come. So all the best to you guys and good luck. And if there's anything we can do as a podcast to help you guys over the next couple of weeks, couple of months or years, just let us know. The answer will be yes.
Alrighty.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we are going to bring in Michael and Afton. Guys, I've been on screen a long time today, so I want to give you guys an opportunity to get your voice out. Before we go into the roster deep dive, I just want to give you an opportunity to reflect on anything in the first half of this podcast, because there was a lot of news there, especially in the conversation with Matt Roan. His excitement for this program and desire to continue to advance this brand in the future is pretty compelling to see. But there was a lot there. Any thoughts on just anything that came out of it?
Yeah, I'll kind of kick things off. Number one, so appreciative for someone like Matt Roan to be on the podcast and to be so open and transparent, not just to us, right, but to our listeners, right, to all of JMU Nation. But it's also cool to see how the sausage is made, right? Like we all know scheduling has been super tough at JMU, and to see, obviously, Virginia Tech also stroke an $800,000 check to have that game canceled, which, by the way, we didn't bring that up, but that was a nice plus. But to see, like, what happens behind the scenes when you got to get on the phone, you're calling all these programs that maybe logistically or because of the conference decisions, cannot bring JMU on. It's interesting to see what the dynamic is. And it hasn't changed for a while. It's going to be harder and harder going forward. It was also really interesting to see that we couldn't bring San Diego State back until 2036. So if you look at our schedule, that made me go, oh my goodness, what does our schedule look like? And for fans out there, we've got teams like we're going to be playing Central Florida, I think, in a couple of years. Don't forget, we'll be going out to UNLV. We've got a home and home with them. So that's going to be really fun to go out to Las Vegas. But also it takes a village. Like one thing that we didn't talk about is, and we're about to go sicko mode on the portal here in a few minutes, but like, think about the admission process of bringing all these kids in. I think classes start on Tuesday. Yep. So all the folks you mentioned, right, the GM, all the folks behind JMU to bring these kids in, now they got to go to class in 2 days. And some of these kids just committed as early as this morning or Friday. So what goes on back there? It's just wild to see all the moving parts, and really appreciative for Rona really walk us through all of it.
Yeah, Afton.
Yeah, before I say what I think was the most intriguing, I guess I could say, thing that Matt Roan said. Also, Michael, we play Maryland in 2027. That's a cool game to play, pretty local. But I'd say the coolest thing was the relationships that are built. Matt Roan said that him and the Boise athletic director are pretty close. He said cool. That right before the Oregon game, they were texting, which I think is pretty cool. And I think it was cool how he was saying when all the group of fives, like this was happening before the playoffs started, when we wanted to be in over Tulane, North Texas wanted to be in over us, maybe Memphis wanted to be over some teams, stuff like that. It separates everyone. And he was saying when North Texas, JMU, Tulane, USF, Boise, Toledo, when they all come together, it's gonna help for that group of five to have a seat at the chair in the college football playoffs, just like they did this year. And it seemed like after it was all said and done, the group of five started to rally together. But before it was all said and done, it was the complete opposite. But I'd say the relationships are the coolest thing.
Yeah, I that was a takeaway for me, is that the potential scheduling agreements between these top group of five teams in the future. Whatever happens,
the lines a little bit, John. There,
like could we see a Boise State announcement? Could we see a Tulane? And I'll say, separate from anything that would have in terms of an implication for seeding and college football playoff and everything, those would be incredible trips and return games to Bridgeport. So if that happens, like, amazing stuff. We've all talked about that. Was one of the things we wanted to have at the group of five level, at the very least, was to have compelling matchups on a regular basis. And it sounds like the future of that is bright. But I liked your introduction to going all sicko mode on the portal. So, gentlemen, take it away. Michael, I know you and Afton are doing a real deep dive into the 30-plus players that have committed to JMU football. Take it away, gentlemen, and I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. For the fans out there and folks listening, it's been a wild 2.5 weeks, as we can imagine. And just so to set the scene here a little bit, we've had the portal open now, Afton, January 2nd to January 5th. So we just wrapped up 48 hours ago. And we saw 26, 27 players leave. We saw folks go to Iowa. We saw folks go to Coach Chesney with UCLA. So we've had to replace a good 26, 27 players. And in the last 2 weeks, I don't think we've officially signed, but there's been announced, about 35 new additions.
35.
15 on offense, 16 on defense, and 4 on special teams. So what we'll do, we'll break down sort of like the offensive themes, go through some of the positions, some key themes that we've seen here. We'll go through defense and do the same. Well, let's start offense, Afton. I know you're super excited. I feel like last year you were on the defensive train with all the DBs that we brought in. But this year, it sounds like you're pretty stoked about the offense. So before we talk about, the quarterback position, which I know is a hot topic, what have you seen at the offensive haul this past portal season?
Yeah, I'd say the wide receiver room. Last year, you're completely right. I was all about the DBs this, DBs that. But the wide receiver room this year, I'm so excited for it because you look across the board, you have an 1,000-yard receiver coming from Division II, but one of the best Division II teams in the country, West Florida. You have, I think, 650, maybe 700 yards for the freshman from ETSU. And not to mention that 1,000-yard receiver is a sophomore rising junior, right? You have the VMI kid who had 600 yards, 650 yards, also a freshman. And on top of all of that, you have the LSU kid, Killen Billiot. I don't know how to pronounce it. Billiot, yeah. I mean, that's just an absurd receiving room. And you have people returning like Wislowski, you have Smoke Collins, you have Mikey Scott. It's loaded across the board. Like when these people keep announcing their commitments, I'm like, I don't know if we have room for you right now. Like what? I don't know how you're going to see the field of how many people are going to be here. It's crazy how many high-level players we've gotten. And not only is it players that are proven, it's players that are young and proven. All these players that were getting freshmen, sophomores, and they're all proven. The only one that's not is the LSU kid. But guess what? The LSU kid is very highly recruited, 4-star. I think he was number 64 in the country headed out of high school. Is that right, Michael? I think so.
I think he was the 13th best wide receiver last year out of high school. I don't remember his overall stats, but you're right, like 6'3", 195. And also, shout out to Afton with his NCAA video comparisons over the last couple of weeks. If Kylon can look any way like he does in the video game, I think we're going to be just fine.
Oh, yeah. We'll be perfect if that's what it's like.
Yes. Well, what's also cool, too, right? Like the wide receiver room, you got Kylon at 6'3". You've got Jeremiah at 6'1", Corey Scott at 6'1", Grievous out of VMI, also above 6 foot, and you're bringing back the Wislowskis, the Mikey Scotts. I think I'm seeing an offense here, man. And, obviously we talk about size. We're going to talk about even more size here in the line of scrimmage. But, like, you're looking at an offense where if you watch any of Cam Aiken's offense from ETSU, not only will have quarterback run game, but I imagine RPOs to the outside to the Wislowskis and the Scotts, getting athletes in space, but also having some really significant down the field threats, right? Look at Corey Scott. I think he averaged, 18 yards a catch at West Florida, big kid. Also, Kentucky, Virginia Tech, Michigan State, Missouri, UCLA, all these guys, all these programs wanted a kid like that. Jeremiah Harrison was getting 17 yards a catch. Again, Michigan, Ole Miss, Virginia Tech, a lot of schools, a lot of bigger programs and more established programs going after these guys. I think we'll see some quick passes to get the quarterback going, but I can also see a significant downfield threat. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'd say if you're in man coverage against this team, watch out. That's what I'll say. Just watch out because you've deep threat after deep threat, like you're saying. And the RPO game could very well be – we saw it against ODU. We had an RPO to Nick DeGennaro. It was second drive of the game. We're at like the 50. It was just a 5-yard, 7-yard slant, and there's no safety, so we broke it for a 50-yard touchdown. We could see a lot of those this year. Mm-hmm. Like you're saying with the RPOs, I think it's going to be a lot like our 2023 offense with Signetti. Combo of that and kind of the ETSU and Florida offense. There's going to be a lot of RPO games, and when you get these playmakers in space, there's not much you can do about it. So if you're a defense and they are already in space, I don't know what you can do with these playmakers on the field because not only, like you're saying, they're 6'1", 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", right? They're explosive. They're fast. 18 yards a catch per catch at West Florida. That's insane. Over 1,000 yards. You can't just have one skill when you have 1,000 yards receiving in a year. So he's clearly, people like Corey Scott clearly can run after the catch, clearly can catch it over any defender. I don't know if you saw the highlight, but he caught it over like 2 defenders. It was like a 25-yard pass. Caught it over 2 defenders. You'd think he would just get tackled after that. Ran 50 more yards for a touchdown. Right. So it's crazy to see that sort of explosiveness out of this receiving room, I'd say.
And I would say, too, is like if you look at some of these guys, and obviously we're just talking about offense, but like Corey Scott, went to West Florida, is a Florida kid. If you look at, Jeremiah Harris, I think he's from Charlotte. Kylon Billiot, I think he's from the state of Louisiana. So there's probably, interesting enough, there's probably some familiarity here with Coach Napier and the staff with these kids well before, they landed at their specific spots. And then scheme-wise, if you look at Harrison and Scott specifically, I mean, they have been the receiving end of a lot of what you mentioned, those quick RPO slants, those glance routes, just like we saw with DeGennaro. And here's the thing. They were also super productive at their level. And I think in the wide receiver room specifically and other places, we look at that production versus like potential sort of graph. I think we've got some good boom or bust prospects here. You know, Kylon Billiott, we don't know what he's going to bring. He kind of reminds me of Isaiah Alston this past year, where like comes from Iowa, big kid, wasn't very productive. What is he going to bring to the table? I think he's going to come in here. You know, he's got a lot to prove, right? He's a big bodied receiver. He was obviously at LSU for a reason. For whatever reason, didn't see the field as much. Can he see that in this offense? You know, I certainly see that as an opportunity. But here's the big question: how are we feeling about quarterback?
Yeah, that's a big question. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle here. I'm feeling good about it right now. Right now, it seems like we could still get another one, but it seems like we have three. We have Camden Coleman, Arrington Maiden, and J.C. Evans. For me personally, from what I've seen out of Billy Napier's scheme, the new OC scheme, I would like JC or Arrington to be one of the two because of the dual threat kind of production that we know they have, right? We know Arrington Maiden did not play a lot at Memphis, but when he did play, they did kind of what we did with JC. He ran a lot. And when I say a lot, almost every play he ran, right? So I'd say with the way you watch Billy Napier's offense at Florida, right? They had DJ Lagway, they had Anthony Richardson. They wanted to get their quarterbacks in this read option kind of, you can do what you want with the football, but a lot of option plays, right? And I think JC and Arrington Maiden would be a lot like that fit, but at the same time, it's going to be different, right? The whole offense is going to be the same. It's going to be more spread out, I would assume here. He said that in his opening press conference, actually, that it's going to be more spread out. But I still think that those two quarterbacks would fit his scheme the best. And not only can they run, they're physical. You have 6'3" Arrington Maiden, 6'3", 225, and you have 6'5" J.C. Evans, which could be really exciting, right? So I feel good about it. But there's one thing that concerns me and one thing that excites me. The one thing that concerns me is none of these kids, like Camden Coleman was good at Richmond, but J.C. Evans and Arrington Maiden, they haven't done anything yet, right? Like, we don't know if any of these kids are going to be very good at the FBS level because none of them have actually played. But the thing that excites me is you have three quarterbacks, right? They're all here for a reason. Arrington Maiden was at Memphis for a reason. J.C. Evans and Camden Coleman were at JMU and still are at JMU for a reason. So you would think that the winner of that competition would be a really good quarterback.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. You know, going back to the 2023 coaching change, going into 2024, we brought in a Dylan Morris from Washington. Remember, if he hadn't played in 2.5 years, we had Alonzo Barnett coming off of, you know, his Yips season, right, when he got benched from Jordan McLeod, and we really didn't have anything after that, if I remember correctly. We brought in J.C. Evans, I think, in February. So if I look at going into the 2026 season, I feel way more confident, right? Because you've got a Cam Coleman, as you mentioned, you know, all conference CAA player, was able to figure it out at Richmond, obviously throwing to very talented receivers there in Ellis and DeGeneiro. You've also got J.C. Evans, where no one else in the room can say, hey, I want a bowl game, right? You're talking about the MVP of the Boca Raton Bowl, and he brings a lot of that physical presence. And you look at Arrington Maiden, right? He comes in, you know, I always compare who are the prospects that we're getting and who's going after him, right? Temple wanted him. I saw a lot of Memphis fans very disappointed that he left. So that gives me a little bit of confidence here. North Texas wanted him as well. And he brings a physical presence, right? And like, if you look at Cam Aiken's scheme, when he had Jacoby Briswell this last year, as well as Cade McNamara, some drop-down guys in the FBS, he ran the quarterback a lot. So I think this is going to be very much a friendly quarterback scheme. Think of, you know, we talked about Brian Shore coming back as a tight end coach. We just ran RPO all day in 2016. I can imagine this is going to be very similar. If the run game's open, they're playing corners back, let's hand the ball off to any one of our running backs. But if we see someone split out, hit that RPO right away, or just go over the top. And I think all of these quarterbacks can certainly do it. But I think Arrington Maiden brings a lot of excitement. Big-bodied quarterback, has tremendous speed. Again, if he shows anything like he does on NCAA, I think he's going to be great for us, especially in the run game. But I think he brings a good attitude. The kids love him. Memphis fans, like I said, were upset about him leaving. Any thoughts on like who he could potentially hand the ball off to, or any of the quarterbacks hand off the ball? I know we picked up Seth Cromwell from Northern Arizona. We saw Malachi Fannin Render signed today from Liberty. And then we also signed, I think, is a dark horse for us with Nick Herman from Drake. That was an interesting one. I think a lot of programs in the country wanted him. Obviously, Pioneer League, they don't offer scholarships from what I remember. But any quick thoughts on the running back room?
Yeah, so first we got to show our love to GP. He's staying, so I would hope that he would be the guy going to camp, right? He'd be the running back one. He stayed with us. We got 3 years out of a top 5 Virginia prospect who originally went to North Carolina. But he was a top 5 prospect in Virginia. We got 3 years out of him. That's really good. So I would hope that he's going to shine just like he did 2 years ago, right? He'd even get better from that. Or last year. I don't know what to say after the season's over. But you talked about Nick Herman, right? That's his name, Drake kid. Yep. I'm really excited about him. I see John typing in the chat. He's excited about him too. When I saw that we scheduled a visit with him, I was like, we need this kid. I mean, he's 5'10". I think maybe 5'11", right?
5'11", 190.
Yeah, 5'11", yeah. And he's explosive as you can ever see. Like, if you watch his tape, it is crazy how explosive he is. He's super quick, super physical, and 1,000-yard rusher as a freshman. Just think about that. An 1,000-yard rusher as a freshman. Have we ever had one of those? I don't know. The Liberty kid, Malachi Fannin Render, I like him young. Once again, that comes back to our freshman sophomore thing. Getting a lot of these young players. He was pretty highly recruited out of high school, I'm pretty sure. And then Seth Cromwell.
Like everyone wanted him, right? Like App State, Georgia State, Coastal, all of the G5 wanted the kid, and it sounds like he wanted to change of pace. But you look at his size, 5'8", 180, right? Does he have a little bit of former Wayne Knight? Does he have some of that explosiveness, right? I think it's easy to make that comparison. And you're going to mention Seth Cromwell from Northern Arizona. I love what you mentioned around GP coming back, like having a lot of the speed on the outside, being able to have that advantage, but then bringing someone like Seth Cromwell, 5'10", 215, literally a bowling ball.
Yeah,
but also at the same time, like 1,200 career yards at the FCS. And Northern Arizona was a pretty solid program, and he saw a lot of snaps. So you're bringing in, again, proven talent, whether it's Cromwell, whether it was Nick Herman that dominated in the Pioneer level. And to your point, what's great about Herman, and what I love watching his tape, he's very confident. He sees the hole and goes. And just to see that out of that player, I could see why Oregon State wanted him. I could see why Taylor would love this. UTSA wanted him. I see why UTEP wanted him. I see why Minnesota was looking at this kid, and we're very lucky to have him. And then Malachi, I mean, like you said, definitely a long-term project, but be curious to see how he works. But obviously, none of this really matters unless who performs up front, and that's the offensive line. And to switch gears here, there's been a lot of chatter about the size of these guys. And like, if you look across, I think we signed, let me see here, we've signed 6 offensive linemen, and we bring back, obviously, Greenberg, our center, comes back, which is was really solid. It's fortifies the middle. Deacon Rawls, who finished the Oregon game, comes back at right tackle, who, by the way,
you wouldn't even notice if
exactly.
You didn't know, like, you wouldn't notice
when Murr went down, but also he's 6'4", 330, and I'm like, he's probably the smallest one out of this group. And we looked at the roster last year, like, man, this is a big guy. And then we also have young guys like Jacoby Campbell comes back. We've got Evan Bouchon, so shout out to him. I forgot his name in the last episode. He's coming back as well. I think there's a lot of excitement with the young talent. But let's go through the offensive line a little bit. I think it's again, just like the receiver room, you've got a mix of proven production, guys that have seen a lot of snaps up front in key situations, but you also got some projects, right? But these projects are 6'5", 306. They're 6'8", 315. They're 6'7", 310. I look at like Daniel Michelle from FIU, 6'6", 328. He was their starting right tackle for a while. Everyone in the Sun Belt was going after him, and we were able to land him with 2 years left. I think he'll be pretty solid for us. I know you like this kid, Afton. You want to talk about Tyler Brown a little bit from Colorado?
Yeah.
7th-year kid.
I mean, first of all, my first impression my first impression of him was I really liked the Tyler Brown we had last year.
Yes.
So I was like, man, we lost Tyler Brown, but you know what? We got another Tyler Brown. So I was super happy about that. But he is the most important thing about him, in my opinion, is he played with Billy Napier already. Yep. Right. And that's, I feel like, a very important thing, because the chemistry that we were talking about before the show, that's like, we need to build chemistry no matter how good the players are, no matter how good those receivers are. They've never thrown a ball. They've never gotten a catch from J.C. Evans. Arrington Maine has never thrown a ball to any of these receivers, right? But that chemistry already with the head coach, that helps. And, I mean, he played at Colorado, right? He was all-conference at Jackson State, and he played at Louisiana. So he's a very experienced player, and he didn't just go to Colorado. He played at Colorado, right? That's a
starting right tackle, if I remember correctly.
Starting right tackle. I mean, that's impressive. And I mean, you can't teach size, right? He's a big kid. I like him a lot just because of the experience he's had, and not only just in college football with Billy Napier, which I think helps a lot. And like, when just like look at his picture, when on his recruiting picture, he's just a big kid. Like, you can't teach that. You cannot teach size. He's a massive kid. And I would assume he would be a starter this year. I think he's the most exciting lineman we've gotten.
Yeah, I think so too. And whether he plays inside a guard with, he's 325, he'll probably play the season at 330, or do we kick him out to right tackle or maybe even left tackle, right? I think he's got an opportunity there. And I think he was like a FCS All-American as well before
at Jackson
Colorado.
State.
He had some injuries, but it seems like he's recovered from that. He's a seventh-year player. We've done pretty well with seventh-year guys. We saw that with McMurtry. So he's a really exciting one. Speaking of like size, I think this one's an interesting one. Frankie Tinalau from ETSU. So once again, that Cam Aiken connection, 6'6", 325. He was the starter at the FCS level at them at ETSU. Started his career out of Miami. Born in Australia, played rugby. If you know me, I'm a big fan of like Australian Samoans and that culture, because I think they're just built differently down there. And for us to land him when Miami wanted him, Arizona State wanted him, BYU, Auburn, FSU, a lot of these guys wanted him. And he's got proven production, right? He was a left tackle for a top 25 offense at the FCS level, and he dominated, right? And he played really well. So I think, does he project potentially as our new left tackle now that Joseph Simmons has moved on to Auburn? Probably, maybe. We'll see how these guys project together. And then you've got some depth here, right? We got Josh Manicky, 6'7", 310 from Army. So he can run block, number one. He's got a large frame. He's got 3 years left. You've got Caden Massey, 6'8", 315 from Kansas State. So again, like coming from like an offensive line program that knows what they're doing. And if you read any of the scouting reports on him, he's got a big frame, played 8-man football in Kansas. So I think he's had a lot to catch up on. So his ability to develop. Again, the entire SEC wanted this kid. And you look at our latest one. We went international again with Noel Portniagan. I think I'm pronouncing that right. 6'5", 306 from Germany, coming from Florida. If you look at his background, Liberty, Florida, South Carolina, Auburn, SEC wanted this kid. He needs a lot of time in the weight room to develop. But you see a potential, like pretty solid offensive line, right? Like you look at Greenberg in the middle. I see Rawls probably slotting in at one of the guard spots. Michelle on the outside, maybe Tina Lau at left tackle, maybe a Tyler Brown at left guard. Or maybe you see some of the younger guys, right? Like Jacoby Campbell or Evan Bouchon really push, particularly for the interior spots. I feel pretty good up front. I don't know. Do you feel pretty bullish?
Yeah. I'm feeling good about it. And like one of the main reasons is you're talking about like when we get kids, like who else wanted them, right?
Yep.
And when they come from Miami, Florida, Colorado, like they're there for a reason. Whether they played or not, they're there for a reason, just like we're talking about the LSU receiver. They're not just there to be there. They're there for a reason. They got recruited to a power ACC school, power SEC school for a reason. And, I mean, that's just going to fare well for us, I feel like, Yeah.
And I would say, too, like people wanted them in the portal as well. It's not like we were just seeing these kids. We competed against other programs. And that's the thing. When we look back at recruiting classes, whether it's high school or portal, typically when the rest of the G5 wanted a kid, or back when we were in the CAA, when everyone in the CAA wanted a kid, that kid ended up being pretty good. So I think we're seeing that similar theme, but these kids, again, 6'8", 6'5". And I know we're talking about the size a lot, but I think this projects as like, once again, going down the field with their big receivers in offense, but also I can see Billy Napier really pounding the rock. I think we're going to see probably less of the zone run, zone left. We're probably going to see more trap plays down the middle. North and South football, we bring in a 5'10", 220-pound running back, be able to split the ball in certain places. I think we've got the scheme to do it. I'll be curious how this all comes together. I know we could talk about offense all day and we could talk about schemes, but defensively, I think there's a lot to be excited about here. So before we hop into this, anything that jumps off the screen after when it comes to defense, we pick up 8 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, and then 5 of your favorite position at DB. I think that's
right.
it.
Yeah, and I say the same thing jumps off the page, like the size. I mean, you look at these defensive edges, like we just got one today, 6'5", right? You can't teach size, no matter it's just crazy to me. We would never have before this year a team this big, and it's not even at one position; it's every position across the board. It's just these big kids, which I picture like no in particular names, but I picture just the whole line, offensive line and defensive line, even receivers. Like maybe not out of conference, we'll see what happens, but in conference, like I could see just utter domination, right? Like you're saying, like sometimes we might just pound the rock for a game. I could see, just like we did against Georgia Southern this year, 2 rushers with 150 yards. I could just see like just domination at the line of scrimmage because of the size mismatch. There's going to be no team in the Sun Belt with multiple 6'5" defensive ends, multiple 6'7", 6'8" offensive linemen, right? So I just think the biggest thing that jumps off the page is going to be the mismatches, right? There's going to be no Sun Belt team to compete with what we have. And I think there's going to, that can't go badly, right?
Yeah. I wish, I hope everyone listens to this and has the same optimism as you of like dominating up front. Because obviously like it all starts up front and we need to win. Yeah. I think what's interesting this year is you look at the types of players that Billy Napier has attracted and recruited here. I think it reflects also what scheme we see. And any of the research I've done with Napier's defense at Florida, looking at what he did at Louisiana, looking at Robert Balla, who Matt Roan mentioned, that's pretty cool that they were college teammates together.
Yeah, that's super cool.
That's probably some funny stories there. But he comes from like the three-man defense, running a 3-4, running a 3-3-5. I think the mint defense where you have a 3-2 stack with 6 DBs has been really popular across college football. You watch that at the P5 level and above. I think we probably will probably evolve to that. You know what I mean? And I think we'll be pretty multiple. We'll play to our strengths. I'll say this, the one risk I see, and this is for the true sickos out there, the last time we did an odd man front was 2014 and 2015 under Everett Withers. And those defenses left a lot to be desired. And obviously it was different. It was the FCS level. We were trying to figure out a retooled defensive line, but you bring in guys like a Rasheed Lovelace who dominated at Nichols, 6'3", 310. Think of like a true nose tackle similar to Manny Bush. You bring in guys like Kevin Roberts at West Florida, 6'1", 285. Wake Forest, Tulane, Houston, UCF, Georgia Tech, NC State, the entire Sun Belt. Everyone wanted this kid. From Florida as well, from Jacksonville. It was a bit of a late bloomer. You bring in guys like Chukwuneke Okiki from Western Kentucky, like 6'4", not only tall, but 305. I think that's an underrated pickup. He played for our new D-line coach, Collie James, where they ran a 3-3-5 defense. And out of high school, Maryland, Michigan State, Syracuse wanted this kid. So you're seeing guys that have like, number one, proven production at their level. So you want to see kids that dominated up front, which these folks definitely did, but also like has some familiarity, which I think is super important as well. Also out on the edges, this is an exciting one. I think we've got some boomer bust prospects from the D2, D3 level, but like, I know you love this guy, Mason Perham from Emory and Henry.
Yeah.
6'6", 250. Let me name some offers here. Missouri, Charlotte, Buffalo, North Texas, Louisiana Tech, Utah State wanted him. What do you see out of him? I think he's an exciting prospect to watch.
Yeah, I see power, right? And like, obviously you don't want anybody to get injured, but you look at this last year, we injured a lot of quarterbacks. Not because we wanted to injure them, but because we just were bigger, stronger, and better. And like, I think that's exactly what this kid is. He's just going to continue what just happened last year. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's better than the offensive lineman that he's going to be going up against, right? And that's not going to go well for whatever quarterback we play. It's just not. So I just see
brought in his teammate too, right? Terrell Thomas was, I think they played together at Emory and Henry. He's also 6'5", 240 or so.
Yeah. All of these guys, either of the Emory and Henry guys, 6'5" and 6'6", right? That's impressive. Once again, I feel like I'm just keep saying this, but you can't teach size, right? You can't. And like, we're going to be bigger. We're going to be stronger than these other guys that we're going up against. But what I really like in this defense is we got some really good linebackers, right? And not only did we get powerful linebackers, we got some ball hawks. The Nevada kid, he had a 66-yard pick six this year or last year. That's impressive. Like our linebackers this year, we have Gannon Weathersby coming back as well, right? That could be, and Jaden Studio. I'm a big Jaden Studio guy. I'm a big Jaden Studio guy. I mean, coming from Kent State, he was a freshman, true freshman at Kent State, started there. I know it might not be the greatest place, right, to play football, but
he had like 100 tackles. He was
exactly like he dominated as a true freshman. So, and he got playing time this year. I mean, he got in the game against Oregon a couple of times, right? And he got good playing time when Weathersby went down a couple of times, right? Maybe Trent Hendrick was banged up in a game. But you look at our linebackers this year, it's really, really good. And we got the Holy Cross kid, Crawley, is that his name?
Yeah, Lathan Crawley from Miami, Florida kid too.
Yeah, again, and that's the chemistry you're talking about. It's just like in basketball when you see this kid played AAU or like Zion played AAU with John Morant, right? It's the same thing. It's like these kids probably played against each other, right? Mm-hmm. You would assume. So that's
played against each other. Napier's probably like scouted them before, maybe for one reason or another didn't bring them in. But you know, they look at Crowley, right? Like Pittsburgh wanted him out of high school, App State, UCF wanted him. The Nakean Jackson kid, you mentioned that earlier. Nevada obviously wasn't good this year. He's probably the bright star on the defensive side, but you know, he came from Sacramento State, which we also brought their special teams coordinator in, Rob Wenger. So he's probably has some familiarity with him and knows, hey, we should bring this kid in. He can play at this level. So if you look at what we've done up front, right, we've got these big space eaters at the defensive line position. We've got these massive edges. And when you run like a 3-4, you need 6'5", 6'6" long kids to really set the edge. And now we've got these downhill linebackers. We even talk about JT Hooten from West Alabama, 6 foot 230. He's got 3 years left. Absolutely dominated at his level. But like, again, the entire G5 wanted this kid. And I look at him as like just a downhill thumper. That's just what he is, right? He's a read and react, see ball, go get ball, attacking type of player. He had 73 tackles last year, 5.5 tackles for loss. And I'm thinking about it. If our D-line can take up a lot of space, just cover the A and B gaps and keep our linebackers free, Gannon Weathersby gets TFLs, right? Like Jaden Studio is all over the field, utilizing a lot of his speed. And then in bringing these other guys, there's a lot to be excited about, that's for sure. But I know DB's your spot. I know we brought in, we talk a lot about size. I think a lot of 6'1", 6'2" kids, if I'm looking at this all around.
Yeah. For these DBs, also big players. But they're going to feed off of the line being big and feed off linebackers. So we're saying before the show, the goal of this defense is going to just be disruptive, right? Get to the quarterback and pressure the receivers, right? And the way that's going to work is if you have these 6'6" guys, if you don't get to the quarterback, put your hands up. You can just tip it, right? And if you do get to the quarterback, you're going to have to throw it up to a receiver that might not even be bigger than our corner, right? Mm-hmm. So when you press up, like we probably will, or we definitely will actually, we're gonna be an aggressive team from every position group, right? If you're a lineman, you're going to be pressuring the quarterback every single play. If you're a linebacker, we're gonna have, like you said, we're gonna have a lot of 3 linebacker sets, right? That leaves you with a lot of options, right? You can do a lot of things with it. And with the corners, we're gonna press almost every play. That's the main way to disrupt, right? You press your corners, and when you have corners this big, it can really disrupt the receiver's timing with the quarterback, right? And I think the way we built this team is going to really play well into a system that the whole goal is just to make the quarterback uncomfortable, make the whole offense uncomfortable, right? And nothing does that more than having bigger linemen to get to the quarterback and massive corners to press up on the receivers.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Outside of maybe 2024, where we obviously saw Eric O'Neal and Kyrie Mann's doing their thing, JMU's been a simulated pressure defense and forcing the quarterback to make very difficult throws. We saw that in 2023 when we had Kyle Kamara and those guys. They had quarterbacks throwing with 2 seconds, just praying someone catches it. And a lot of times they did. That's why our pass defense was trash that year. But we were also still recruiting to the FBS level. But if you look at some of these guys' backgrounds, right, like Jayon Harvey, obviously played at a D2 level at Findlay, had 25 passes batted and 7 interceptions in 2 years. So you're looking at a guy, 5'11", 190. Again, the entire G5 wanted him, right? App State, UMass, Jacksonville State, Miami, everyone. You're looking at a guy that thrives in one-on-one coverage. I really like this kid, Terrence Jones from Fordham, 6'2", 195. He's got some familiarity with Kyle Barnes on the staff, as well as the folks that went to UCLA. UCF wanted him, Northwestern wanted him. Played a lot of nickel. I look at his thing, 10 passes defended, 3.5 tackles for loss. Big kid, long kid, which I'm really excited about. Plus he's from the Bronx. And as you know, my family's from the Bronx, and I love those guys. He's from Texas, but he spent time in the Bronx, so he brings a little bit of that swagger, which I think we need on defense. I really like him at corner. I look at Demir Minka from Shepherd, by the way, from Battlefield High School, just right outside of Harrisonburg. So literally coming home, 6'2", 195. Iowa State was going after him, Virginia Tech, Maryland, UConn, you name it. 17 tackles, 11 passes defended, and a block kick, right? He was a big starter at the Shepherd program. Can he play up, right? This is the question we all want to know is like, these kids were good, but how will they fare out in our level? Because we saw it with, Mekhi Rogers last year. He was more of a rotational guy, but he brought a lot to the table. And I think the underrated one here is DJ Kelly from Toledo. Baltimore kid, number 1, which I love. 6'1", 185. We played under Jason Candle, who's now the UConn head coach. So maybe we got a little inside baseball here going to next year. Had 1 interception, a couple sacks, 10 tackles, but he brings a tremendous amount of upside. So I'm just curious, like, out of these folks, like, anyone stand out for you or anyone you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, I'd say the main one that sticks out is the one you just said, DJ Kelly. I mean, he got really good playing time, an interception as a true freshman, right, at a very, very good Group of 5 school. Toledo, that's what Matt Roan was talking about, the ADs and the fan bases that need to come together. And Toledo was one of the teams he named with us and Boise and North Texas and all of them, right? So like Toledo is a very good program, and he got very good playing there as a freshman, very good playing time there as a freshman. And you always talk about the offers and stuff out of high school, Maryland, Temple, UCF wanted him. We've seen a lot of kids that UCF wanted come to us this year through the portal, which is pretty cool to see. It's cool to see us beat out those types of players or those types of teams. And also Demir Minka, right? That's how you say it.
Yeah, from Shepherd.
Yeah, I'd say same thing as you just said. Like, can he play up? We saw Mekhi Rogers. He really high expectations for Mekhi Rogers. And he turned out to be good. He didn't start, right? But we expected him to start. So can this kid be what we wanted Mekhi Rogers to be, right? Can he start? Can he level the playing field, right? Can he press up against Sun Belt receivers? Can he press up against San Diego State, Liberty, right? Can he do that? And can he still compete and beat them on every single rep like that? There's no way to tell until he gets here, right? So it's kind of a why not, right? He was super, super successful. And you said he had a blocked punt, right? Or blocked kick. That's big because you think of our best teams, right? In the past 10 years, our special teams has been really, really big. You think of when we beat UVA, we had a blocked punt for a touchdown, right? D'Angelo Ponce and Fisher on that play. So stuff like that. And even this year, our first game of the season, we had Chase Regan, who's also another defensive back who's coming back, block a punt. So like people that can do more than just play their position will be really successful here because of how big the special teams have been. I know John's a big special teams guy. He wanted a big special teams touchdown all year, and he finally got one. But I know that's going to be a big part. Can you play more than just your position? And this kid can, right? And that'll immediately earn him some playing time.
No, I couldn't agree more. We didn't even touch on this too. We picked up the Texas State safety, Javis Minad, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I think West Virginia wanted him. He transferred in from Wofford. Big run defender, right? I think he had an 80.1 PFF, played a lot of snaps at Texas State. And obviously they did because their offense couldn't do anything, or they were pretty much in shootouts, so they were always on the field. So brings a lot of Sun Belt game experience, in my opinion. And when you think about it holistically, we've got 5 positions to fill up. Culp graduates, Eaglin moves on to Colorado. Tyler Brown, I think, is at either Iowa or Iowa State.
Iowa.
JT Thomas is going to go to the NFL, and then Barksdale's at UCLA. So that's 5 positions. You got the 2 safeties, the nickel, and the 2 outside corners. It brings a lot of competition. And you got to think about KJ Flo is going to be part of that. He's coming back for his 3rd year. Chase Regan will certainly be part of that. And you've got a lot of underclassmen coming up. We also signed a lot of DBs out of high school. I think it'd be really cool to see how all these folks compete and meld. But again, I think from the defensive philosophy standpoint, this class, in my opinion, from the portal was purpose-built. We've got new guys on the defensive backfield. So what do we need to do? We got to make sure we can hit the quarterback. So I think we brought in some defensive linemen, edges that we know that can not just set the edge on the run defense, but also hit the quarterback, make the offense uncomfortable, attack, get TFLs, folks that can go downhill, and let the DB sort of settle in, because it's a lot easier to catch an interception on a rush ball than having a quarterback stand around for 4 to 5 seconds. We saw a lot of that in Oregon.
I was about to say, the perfect example of that is we didn't get a lot of pressure. They got a lot of pressure on us. But one of the examples that Justin Eaglin almost had a 90 or 100-yard pick six. He ended up just taking back 60 yards. It's because we had two people right in Dante Moore's face, right?
Yep.
He couldn't see the receiver he was throwing to. So it was an easy interception for Justin Eaglin.
And I imagine we'll see a lot of that. And also special teams, right? We picked up a kicker. We got a punter from Charlotte. We got a lot of competition at long snapper. We got two of them. Watch out with Mitchell Dietzel and Hayden Ross. It'll be curious to see what happens there. But I think, with all the turnover, we've got, 35 kids coming in. I think I counted 17 high school freshmen we signed, maybe 18.
Yes,
so that's right there. That's 52 new players. And as we all know, just because the portal ended on Friday doesn't mean we can't sign anymore. So I think we saw this morning with the Terrell Thomas kid. You just can't enter the portal in the traditional sense. So overall, I'm super bullish. I think cautiously optimistic is like the right way to explain how I feel. I'm excited about spring ball. I'm excited to see how all this comes together. I just want to make sure, and I know the staff knows this, and they will, is we just put our athletes in the best position possible. Because we could talk a lot about the size, we could talk a lot about the length, but if a kid's really good at rushing the passer, they shouldn't be dropping back in coverage, right? And if we have a big right tackle that loves to run block, he probably shouldn't be, at right tackle. You should probably be at guard, right, until they figure out his pass pro and everything. So I think we have a lot of capable kids that have a lot of potential. Big bodies, as we had mentioned, folks to be dominating the line of scrimmage. I think it'll be exciting to see what happens in spring ball. And this is where all the strength and conditioning stuff starts. So they'll be on campus on Tuesday. And, does that kid that weighs 320 end up being 340 when it's all said and done? Or that kid that comes in at 175, comes into season at 190 after an amazing offseason? That's going to be the make or break, in my opinion, for this program and for the 2026 roster.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We have all the players now, right? You can't do anything more about that. But what you can do is make them even better, right?
Absolutely.
Guys, that was some sicko discussion. I love it. I'm taking notes. I know I learned a lot. One thing I did want to ask you, because you briefly mentioned it, but I think it's one of the things that I'm most excited about in terms of news that has come out of the last couple of weeks is national championship winning quarterback Brian Shore back on campus. I know we've talked offline, but Michael, I want you to share just briefly why you think that's so important from a culture perspective and having a JMU guy in the building who just knows how this program ticks as Billy Napier and his staff, formulate what comes next with this program.
Yeah, I think you hit on the head, right? I think it was only a matter of time to bring Brian Shore home. I'm sure you didn't appreciate the last time he was at Bridgeforth when we dominated them 35-3. Should have been more. But I think you hit on the head. When you look at the culture and what the JMU way is, and you see it, right? Chesney moves on to UCLA. We find out Matt Transu moves on with him as well, who was part of the Signetti staff. Kyle Barnes stays here. Coach Plunga stays here as our linebackers coach. You have to think, who has that JMU DNA to bring to the table? And I think that's when someone like a Brian Shore makes a lot of sense for this program. Someone that has obviously won a national championship, someone that has beaten P5 competition for the QB1 role, that has played around fantastic players, but has also dominated competition. I think he scored 84 points. He scored 80 points twice in a year. And then the following year scored 70 points twice, if I remember correctly. So again, JMU DNA understands the culture, understands the people, understands what it means to wear the purple and gold. When you bring in 53 new players, which I imagine will be well above 60 when it's all said and done, you need someone like that can really bring the expectation. And like Matt Roan and I always say, brings the standard and continues to elevate it.
Awesome. Afton, I want to give just you an opportunity because I know you've been really focused on the basketball side of things, both our men's and women's team. Just any thoughts on the week that was? I know some successes on the women's side, a rough week for the men, but I know this is a program that still on paper has the talent to make a run in the back half of this Sun Belt schedule and the tournament. Just your kind of thoughts on where we stand on the hoop side.
Yeah, I'll start with the women's. The women, they went into a little bit of a slump the past 2 weeks, but they called it a revenge. They called it a revenge week this week. They won by 37, and then they won by 7. So it's 2 big wins, right? They should be still competing for conference championship, right? I would expect them to be top 4, probably 2 seed though. probably top 2 seed going to the tournament. But the men's side, they did have a rough week. They lost to App State. It seems like we still can't get over App State in basketball.
That's 5 in a row for App State.
5 in a row.
Yeah,
5 in a row. But the Marshall game, even though we lost, if you watch the game, we played well. We played a good game.
That was brutal. We were up by 9.
It was brutal. It was brutal. We fell apart at the end, but it was a good game of basketball. Like, you'd Cliff Davis knocking down shots. Our defense was looking really good. I like our press a lot. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but our press is very good. And I like our zone. We never played a zone last year, not once. Our zone's been good this year. The only problem is when you play zone, you give up good looks from 3, right? And when you play a team like Marshall, which is why we didn't really run too much zone against Marshall, they have shooters all over the court. But what I'll say is this team still has a lot of potential. We have South Alabama and Texas State this week, right? If we win those 2, we can be right back up to, I think, the 7 seed, right? And then the next game will get you up to the 5. So you just got to go on a run, right? This could have been a start to something, this Marshall game, because even though we lost, we played very well. I felt like we played better. And interesting thing to note, there were change in the starting lineup. We had Koze Egbule get in instead of Bradley Douglas at the starting point guard. And we had Preston Fowler come in instead of Eddie Ricks at the starting small forward. And Preston Fowler played very, very well in his first start. I think he had probably 10 and 9 or like 8 and 9 rebounds, 8 points. Eddie Ricks, he played okay. He didn't respond too well to being benched, it seems like. But Bradley Douglas, because I know a lot of times you bench someone to get the most out of them. Last year, we did it with Mark Freeman, and Mark Freeman became an incredible player. So we kept him as the 6th man, right? If you guys remember that. Seems like the same thing just happened with Bradley Douglas. He's been in a slump. He didn't start on Saturday or yesterday, and he had a great game, right? He played great. He ran the offense well, played good defense, but that was a tough game. That was a tough game to watch, like Michael said. Gave up the 9-10 point lead at like 4 minutes left. But we played a good game of basketball, and that could give us some hope heading into the rest of the season.
Awesome. Well, I know you'll be at the Atlantic Union Bank Center for many of the games on the stretch, and we're all going to try to make it up there as well and give some support behind a team that I think has everything you need. You just got to turn it on and get it together. Guys, I know this has been a little bit of a longer episode, but a really great conversation. I want to wrap today's episode, though, with maybe one of the most important things we could possibly say in this. We want to give another shout out to our new co-host, John Paul Macri, who I know is continuing to battle and just be such an inspiration to the entire JMU universe. So we want to give our love, our prayers, our support to him and his family. He was an amazing interviewer on our show, but he's continuing the fight. And if you're watching the show and you want to have a massive impact on John Paul and his family and his fight for a cure, please consider making a donation. We're going to continue to post links on our social channels. Let's fight to do everything we can to find a cure for cancer for these kids who are battling through it right now. And John Paul is the best of JMU, and we're just here with his family and thinking of him. We want to, as many times as we can, get that message out, because I know he's continuing the fight, and we're thinking of you, John Paul. But with that, guys, thanks for another episode. We know Taylor will be back on our next show, and to our fan base, we appreciate your support as continue to be behind these programs. As JMU, as Matt Roan said, there's a lot of championships we're going to be competing with in the spring, and our support is really important. Once again, shout out to our sponsors: Skyline Financial, Champions Drive, Where's Woody, Purple Nation, Shoker and Associates, the Dead Meat Society, and Outdoor Kitchen Creations, and then finally Valley Road Vineyards. And with that, thanks for watching another episode of JMU Sound Off. We'll talk to you guys soon, and as always, go Dukes.